Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's College Sports Communicators Live webinar. We are pleased to offer this session on strategies for broadcasting live events, building your in-house staff, and more. So thanks for joining us for this important session as we discuss ways to assist CSC members in all areas of running live broadcasts as our presenters' thoughts and strategies on building a staff, particularly with students, working with your carriers, and takeaways as you develop a play-by-play, announcers and color commentators, and especially where many of us might be short-staffed and budget limited. My name is Elisa Mitten, and I'm the Sports Information Coordinator and Home Event Manager at the University of Windsor up in Canada, and I will be serving as today's webcast moderator. Our guest panelists that are joining us today are Adam Ledyard, Assistant AD for Communications at East Texas Baptist, Reagan Ratcliffe, Associate AD for Media Relations at Dallas Baptist, Whitney Haworth, Director of Creative and Digital Strategies at Georgia Southern, and Alex Souza, Assistant AD of Digital Initiatives and Branding at Coastal Carolina. Now, as a reminder, we are pre-recording this webinar, and later in this attendees hub, you can either watch it as an on-demand session or listen to it as a podcast. Please feel free to invite fellow current CSC colleagues to listen and watch in this member hub. And also, we welcome you to ask questions at any time. All you have to do is just place them in the attendee hub section, and you can ask anonymously if you wish. Now, we've got lots to cover today, so why don't we get started? Now, a topic we thought that might be a good starting point is student staffing. Where do you get your students? How do you recruit them? Alex, did you want to kick us off with what you do over at Coastal Carolina? Oh, Alex isn't here yet, is he? Okay, so Whitney, what about you? How do you recruit over at your institution?
Yes, so Alex and I are recruiting a lot in the same way, and I wish I could follow up, as he and I kind of briefed and talked about yesterday, this seminar, and how we recruit students. He's really done a great job over the last few years as Coastal Carolina's built up their broadcast. And honestly, that's my goal and kind of the route that he takes. I'm ending my first academic year with Georgia Southern, so it's been a process. I, obviously kind of walked in and have been barely keeping my head above water as we've gone through this year, but I've been lucky that I acquired a number of students that were student workers or interns. And honestly, the biggest way that we've been recruiting thus far in my first year here is through word of mouth. And this goes for both the broadcast side of things and also the creative side. And it's really been a lot about who you know. So it's one student shooting an event or running camera at an event wearing an ESPN Plus shirt that then another student sees and goes up to them and says, "Hey, who are you? How do you do this? I'm interested." And then the other route that we've been doing and certainly look forward to doing more is really hitting the classrooms and talking with professors and using those networks as well. And I know that's something that Alex can talk more about and how he's grown his team is really getting into the classrooms and onto the academic side of campus.
That's great, Whitney. Thank you. Reagan, did you have anything to add there?
I mean, we're kind of in a similar position at Dallas Baptist. We have two classes that we have within our communications department that we're fortunate to be able to recruit students from. One is a practicum class where they're learning a lot of the technical side. So in terms of the camera work, directing, instant replay, we're also fairly fortunate. We've got a control room that we've been able to build up here over the last 5 or 6 years. That wasn't always that case, but that's something that's come about, and we've been able to develop it here recently. We've also have a broadcast class. So those that are interested more in getting into the play-by-play, color analyst, sideline type reporting, we're able to begin to kind of develop that talent as well. But probably in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 students year to year that we're able to recruit from. But it's just real important for us within media relations, communications, and as professors to be able to come alongside those students and be able to help train them up. I'm not as well versed on the technical side as I am on more of the play-by-play type stuff, but just being able to give them instruction, guidance, so that they're well prepared to be able to go on air when the time comes.
That's great. Adam?
And I follow up with that, similar to those two, but I work more with the communications department, build a great relationship with the chair, and he'll send over interns and practicum students all the time for me to use. And that's only been within the last 3 or 4 years when they changed over things here, and he came and started. And so I've been blessed to have students come in and want to do communications, and we figure out where they want to go, if it's through broadcasting, doing camera, or creative. And a lot of times then we just plug them in and see where they'll fit in and move on up through the broadcasting ranks.
That's great. Now, have you guys found as well, being able to retain your student, staff, employees? Are you able to engage them enough that they want to keep coming back year after year, or have you seen some staff, have a lot of staff turnover?
I think for us, it's kind of on a year-to-year proposition. Some years seem to be better than others, but it also kind of is dependent upon the student. I think as they're exposed to this industry, they find out pretty quick, hey, is this something that I really want to do? Because I think a lot of, especially people that are on air or in front of the camera, I think you just get on and do it. And it's one of those jobs where you don't wing it. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. I always equate it to kind of like taking a test, all the hours and prep that you do to prepare for a test. And then when it's time to go on air, then I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to be on air. And so there's some that really enjoy that process. And we find that those are the kind of students that really thrive. And then on the technical side, one thing that we want to do in terms of camera work and production is just to expose them to as many different areas as possible. We find for us, we're kind of in a unique situation where baseball is our lone Division I sport. Everything else is Division II. So in the fall, with soccer, basketball, volleyball, we allow them to be in as many different roles as possible. And so they kind of find a niche where, hey, I really enjoy the production side of things, or I really find that I thrive in directing or producing or instant replay, whatever it may be. But we want to give them the opportunity to be in all those different types of roles. When the spring rolls around for us, when it gets to baseball, wherever we feel like they're best suited and where they've thrived here in the fall, then we try to get them into that specific position and then let them grow in that area. So we've got somebody that's really good on instant replay, then in the springtime, then that's where they're going to be. And so I think if we just show them their value and their worth, give them constant feedback, hey, you did this really well, hey, you can do this better, then I think we found that those are the kind of students that typically want to come back if it's something that they in fact enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just got notification that Alex is going to be signing on soon. So I just wanted to, in the meantime, just remind everyone to at any time, please submit a question and we will gladly take it and answer it. Or even if you have a little tidbit of information about how you retain your students or recruit them, and that's an interesting way we haven't talked about, we'd love to hear that as well. Alex, welcome. We heard you were stuck in traffic. We're glad it didn't take too long to get out of it.
Yeah, the crazy Conway, South Carolina traffic.
We were just talking about student staffing and recruiting them and being able to retain them and not have a lot of staff turnover. What do you guys do over at Coastal Carolina?
Sure. So we try to create a little pipeline. We use our recreation sport management area. They have a class, RSM 393. It covers a lot of media relations, a lot of sport technology, and they have to work 6 or 7 games for us, depending on the semester. We try to give them the best atmosphere they can, the best experience that we can. A lot of great experience running camera, directing, things like that, and turn them into student workers and full-time interns later in the RSM matriculation to their degree. Otherwise, we advertise around on social media. We have our own Twitter account that we try to show the students doing a great job, experiential learning, things like that, and we really lean on the success we've had. And if someone goes on and gets a great job, we make sure to tell everyone about it. If someone's working for the NBA, then someone's gonna know about that. If they're running their own department at a school, then that's something that we try to push that instead of working down at the beach or working on campus for someone else, is that you can get career development through us. Because we do rely on students so much that you're going to get hands-on direct experience producing ESPN quality shows. So that's what we really, really push, and try to give them the best experience once they're on board.
That's great. Thank you, Alex. I think this is probably a good spot to transition into our next topic, which is along the same lines, but it's recruiting good play-by-play and color commentator talent, right? We're all on limited budgets. So how do we do that? How do we find those people? Adam, did you want to weigh in here first?
Yeah, I've got a pool of money that I can hire workers with, but a lot of it is just the work study portal, and they come in and they interview, and we find out, hey, where do you want to go and work for us? And some of it's word of mouth of them bringing in friends and hearing what we do. But once we bring them in, we've got we have a tier that's not published, but if you want to come into broadcast, for instance, all right, we have developmental games for some of our sports. So you can start out on the PA there. And how did you do on that? Okay, let's move you up to a varsity game now to do PA. All right, how did you do there? The next step is doing some color for the streaming. All right, how did that go? And then if we feel you're capable of doing a play-by-play, then we move you in to do play-by-play. And now I've got two students actually that do full play-by-play for all of our sports right now. And one of them will move into a graduate assistant position here. So we've groomed from within our communications department, moving them up from, sophomore, junior year into a graduate assistant position. And that's how we've done it, is just pulling from within, talking to the communications professor, our work study portal, and then seeing where they fit at and what they want to do. And if they know of somebody that wants to go into broadcasting or sports communications, they bring them over and say, hey, we thought about this kid. Would you like to interview them and see if that'll work? And so a lot of it is them also recruiting for us, looking out for talent and things like that, because they know it's such a great time. And actually, we always say the best job on campus is working in sports communications. And so they try to bring their friends in and work here with us. So that's how we work up through our tier and just and build them up kind of through the minor leagues up to the major leagues with the broadcasting side of it.
That's great, Adam. Thank you. Alex, did you want to weigh in here? I believe you have a graphic as well that shows your process. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah. It's very similar. So we do bring in students. So this isn't directly, play-by-play, but we follow a similar path. But it's really just about giving them experience that they can learn as students, what everyone's doing. So everyone starts on a camera, and then we quickly get them into the trailer in kind of not inconsequential roles where they can't mess up a whole ton. But if they're paying attention and learning, then they can learn what the director does, learn what replay does, learn what graphics do, learn about our discussion in our conversations with the talent like we're talking about, so they know that it's not just you talking and all of a sudden graphics pop up. So when they step into a broadcaster role or any of these other roles, they know kind of the big picture. So we try to get them in the trailer as quick as we can, or in this case over here, the secondary area, and they learn kind of the whole kit and caboodle. And then eventually in this case, in this graphic, it's down to a director, but it could also follow a path very similar to Adam's, where they're doing some preseason stuff, or they're doing maybe not as highly viewed events, and that's where they're getting their reps on play-by-play or graphics or replay, whatever it may be. And it kind of gives them the full picture, and then they can understand when they're in each role, they know how to then supplement and support other roles around them, and they become a better broadcaster, whether they're on air or behind the scenes.
That's great. I actually think that's a really good point, and really something really good for the play-by-play and the color people to know is how everything works, right? So they don't have all these expectations of, they actually have a complete understanding. Do any of you have any play-by-play or color commentators that just came to you from, outside of your organization, like someone from the community, and they didn't work their way up, working from the camera up into play-by-play, or is all of your talent like internal and students?
For us, really, the talent that we have in terms of students is really from within. Very rarely, I don't think we've gone from the outside. Kind of go back to your last question. I think one thing with students that are looking to get into play-by-play, most of them, at least at this age, don't have any experience in doing that. And so, one thing that I encourage them to do as we sit down and just visit is, hey, go and whatever it is that they're interested in, whether it's play-by-play, sideline reporting, pregame show host, is go and take whatever your favorite sport is and put together a sideline report or put together 5 minutes of play-by-play audio. And, for us, I mean, the expectations probably is not all that high, especially if they've never done it before, but you'd be surprised. Some come in, you can tell, hey, this is someone that definitely has some talent that we can groom as a play-by-play talent, or hey, maybe their niche is going to be more sideline reporting, but I'm always intrigued to hear what they put together. You can tell a lot from the effort, the time that they took to put that together, and then to be able to give them some feedback. And that's really when you talk about like just recruiting and figuring out, hey, where can we place our students best? That's one way in which we do it. And we found some really good talent, particularly with sideline reporting, pregame show, halftime show host for us.
Oh, that's great. For us up at Windsor, we are a bit more of basic broadcast just due to facility limitations and things. So we don't have right now sideline reporting and that kind of stuff. But I've actually been very fortunate, and am a little different than you guys, is all of my play-by-play and color commentators are members of my community. And they've worked at our local television station. And some of them did start out as students or came to me from another institution where they played volleyball, but they also have an interest in broadcasting, right? So they've, hosted my podcast and then gone on to be play-by-play. So I have like a completely different scenario than all of you, that I was able to tap into my local television stations and, the different broadcasts that we have to be able to get my students or my play-by-play. But something I'm thinking of just listening to you guys is I think I want to start training some of my students, because I know that my play-by-play volunteers aren't going to be here forever. So, even hearing from you guys, these are some great tips that I think everyone is going to really benefit from. We have our first question. It is from Nathaniel Thomas. He says, I'm a student at a mid-small D2 in Pennsylvania. How do we keep the students from burning out? I have done 130 streams in 2 years across 8 sports. I think I have missed 6 productions in that time. Our campus media is responsible for the streaming. Whitney, did you want to tackle that one maybe first?
So I feel his pain. So I'm in a unique spot where I actually, unlike Alex, I don't oversee our full broadcast production. That's another position here at Georgia Southern, but I oversee more so of our creative side. But obviously we work hand in hand. So although I may not be in the control room, I'm at almost every event covering in some form or fashion as well. And it's an unfortunate thing that I think, as a group, we've all talked about, and that we want to get better. And that's exactly why we're here, is to, try and solve those questions. I think a lot of it is being able to, at some points in time, stand up for yourself and say, hey, like, I've got to take a step back and I've got to take a break. Unfortunately, a lot of us are always short-staffed, obviously, but it's kind of a mixture of then figuring out the best way to schedule your students or your staff. I know a lot of what we do here is we're very, very lucky that our supervisors know the importance of our roles and this part of the industry, and they're very cognizant of our time. So when we are doing broadcast and we have those long days, we're in the office and you're setting up, you're breaking down, you're the whole flow of it. but they're very cognizant that, hey, if we don't have a broadcast and there's not something to be covered in the office that following day or whatever day it may be, work from home, come in late, leave early. So I think it's really opening that line of communication, not only with your peers, but your superiors as well, to make them realize all of the hard work and the hours that are going in. And then to try and find that work-life balance. Obviously, it's a hard thing to do. I think obviously, as you look ahead in these next few weeks for all of us, as you enter that summertime, is then looking at your calendar and knowing, okay, here's when to take the breaks, and take advantage of it and kind of recharge. So, there's no easy answer, obviously. But I think it is just really honing down on what is best for you, yourself, and then working with your teammates to figure out the best way to solve those time-consuming moments.
Thank you, Whitney. Did anyone else have anything to add to answer Nathaniel's question?
I think to echo what Whitney said is to stand up for yourself. I've had plenty of times, where, we have a star student and we talk about, where they go on to eventually work. And I, try to dangle that carrot of like, oh, you could go get a great job, stay dedicated. But if you burn out and don't want to do broadcasting anymore, then, you're not going to get that job, because I've worn you out. So it's definitely on us to realize that that's happening, in our leadership roles, but definitely speak up. Like I have a busy week. I'm also a student. Even if it's not a busy week and it is a chance to look at the calendar and take a break. I think hearing that is huge for us because we're trying to put on an event and we're trying to put on the best one. So we're going to use you. So Nathaniel must be, if you're doing 130 games over 2 years, probably a stud. So that person, they're probably scheduling you because they want to put on the best show, but we can get our blinders on because of that. And so hearing it is huge. We need to realize it ourselves, but hearing it definitely, wakes us up a little bit. I'm like, yeah, they are students. They're not professionals. We're not paying them like, freelancers or something like that. So let's take a break and let's take a step back so they can be even better when they come back in maybe a week.
That's great. Thanks, Alex. Nathaniel, I hope that that answered your question, but I think it also, opened our minds too, that maybe we need to look at our staff schedules and look at our students and make sure that we are not overworking them and see how many games we are actually scheduling you for, and say, you know what? I know Nathaniel's worked about 5 of the last 6 games. Maybe we should give him a couple days off, right? Like it's got to be something for us too. Oh, and it says Nathaniel added, I'm the only one who knows how to run production truck at the student level in campus media. Nathaniel, this is where you take your leadership. This is where you put yourself in a leadership role and start training other students as well, because I know your SID will be grateful for that and they will actually see you as a leader and even maybe promote you again. Okay, so we have another question from Jill Clark, and our next topic is actually, we were going to talk about building relationship with our webcast carriers, and Jill's does talk about our different platforms. So Jill is from the University of Toronto, and her question is, with so many platforms and ways to follow a game, how do you push your audiences to watch your broadcast as the top option? Examples, how do you push the stream when there is live tweeting, live stats, IG stories, etc., etc.? Reagan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, and we're again kind of in a unique situation with baseball being our Division I sport. For our D2 sports, everything is through a conference network. But for baseball, being our Division I, we actually have our own site that's dedicated. We use Blue Frame. And it's been an outstanding partnership. It's a website that we've been able to develop with live broadcasts. We archive everything. We do a video broadcast for home games, audio only for road, but we can archive everything on there as well. But we push the broadcast as the main option to watch. And I think for us, that's truly how dedicated fans that want to follow it are going to the broadcast. Obviously, we've got your Twitter and Instagram. That's been such a game changer. It's absolutely changed everything, I think, in our field over the last 5 to 7 years in terms of the different avenues in which you can push your broadcast through and highlight clips, and it's just it's unbelievable where we are now with everything. But For us too, with baseball, everybody's got a little different philosophy on whether to have a subscription based broadcast where you're paying, whether that's for the year or by game. For us, what we've chosen to do with baseball is we want to get as many eyes on our product and make it as easy for people to watch. And so we've made it free for people to watch. And so I think there's the possibility that we'll be on ESPN next year, but we've done this for the last almost 10 years with our own network, and we've got a lot of great response in that. We've grown our product, where we make our money is just through sponsorships, through advertising. So we try to recoup that cost, but again, just trying to get as many people to watch our product as possible.
That's great, Reagan. Thank you. Whitney, did you want to chime in here with any thoughts of how you direct people's attention since you're on the creative side?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to apologize too. I know my internet's probably a little wonky today. And it goes back to honestly Nathaniel's question in that you're running around doing so many different events. I'm in an office off campus, so it is what it is. So I apologize for that. But I think honestly, we obviously push all of our games and our fans to watch on ESPN Plus because that's who we are partnered with through the Sun Belt Conference. But really then, it's up to the viewer themselves, and you can only push and encourage so much. You're going to have a handful of people that want to watch the broadcast and they love the voices and the talent that they're seeing on E+. Then you've got your group that still loves their radio and listening that way. And then you're also in a way at the mercy in terms of live tweeting and the creative side that you can only push so much so fast in the actual game. ESPN does provide rules that you can only post so many live clips during a game, and those vary sport to sport. So if you're a person that loves to follow via that way, you're not going to get every single highlight right then and there. And then obviously from a creative side, it takes a little bit of time. If you're, just this past weekend, I'm out there and someone hits a home run and I text who's running the social media up in the press box. And she was like, yeah, clip it. That would be great. Well, turns out then we hit like 3 more home runs back to back to back. And I was like, well, it's going to be a minute. So those, that want it instantaneously, obviously ESPN Plus or that live stream is the way to go. And so that's our number one. And then everything else, I think, is an added bonus in the end.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like up in Ontario, we, as I mentioned in our pre-call yesterday, all of our schools broadcast on the same platform, and we have one website that directs all of our fans, no matter what school it is, to the one website in the one location, and they can watch any game around the league and any sport at any given time, right? Like they don't have to keep logging in and out of different platforms and different websites and things like that. And I think as a conference for us, we have all of us do live tweet and do live stats and have the IG stories as well. But I think as a conference, we need to do a better job of just promoting our OUA.TV, right? Because it sends everybody there and there's live stats and all that kind of stuff. So I think that is something that we should do. And if other conferences, across North America do that as well, broadcast on a platform, I think that would be a good option too for them.
Can I add to that real quick?
Of course you can.
We push everybody. We're a small Division III school. We just push everybody to our website, and we're with Sidearm, and we stream through Production Truck. But on game day, I do a game day page regularly on our website, and then I do the game day landing pages for our sports. And then we also have a bit.ly link that I put out there that directs everybody back to our watch page on our website. So everything we put out there, we push back to our website. And then, like Whitney said, the preference of what people want to do. So some people just want the Instagram story or the tweets, but all that is in a game day social media post that we put out with the links to, Apple TV and Roku, with the links that we have through Sidearm and those apps that they can go to if they want to watch on their smart TV instead of through the website. But in the end, it's all still the same branding and the same look that you have. It's just where it's being directed from. And so we push everybody to website with all of our links and what we do. So that way there's one site with everything in it, and it's not all over at different places where you can watch different things.
Oh, that's great. No, that makes sense. Drive everybody to the same location and then they can choose their watching preference from there. No, that's great. Okay, so I think now it's a good time to talk about our limited resources and how we're using them. So obviously we're all here because most of us are looking and learning for new ways to create a fantastic broadcast on a limited budget. Now, Reagan, you mentioned earlier that you have an interesting setup where your baseball team is D1 and then all of your other sports are D2. Can you tell us a little bit more about your setup and what you do and how you cover off between the two?
Between baseball and our, you said the Division II
Yes.
sports?
Yes, because yours is interesting where D1 has probably certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Certain broadcast specifications that you have to do.
Yeah.
And then the D2s are different, but we're all on a
Sure.
limited budget. How do you decide?
Yeah, absolutely. With baseball, we're fortunate to have a 4-camera setup, and really it's something that's grown over the years. It's not anything that is where we are now is not where we started 10 years ago. Well, it used to be just a high home camera and we were building it from the ground up. Then it went to 2 cameras, and now it's really become a full blown production with 4 cameras and instant replay. And but because it's Division I and with the instant replay requirements, we'd really try to treat that as big of a production as possible. But where all that really starts, I think it goes back to the fall for us with developing our talent and our students, because we really rely on it. Everything we do is student run, cameras, production, directing, instant replays. And so the fall is critical, even though it's different sports like soccer, basketball, volleyball, it's different than baseball, but they're learning all those systems. The camera work, the direction, the replay. And like I mentioned earlier, we want to expose them to as many different roles during the fall, but we'll find our best talent going into the spring, and we'll meet with our production crew well in advance of the season. And we want to emphasize to them how valuable they are, because without them, it's impossible to do what we're going to do. And we really want to treat it as an ESPN type broadcast. We want them to have the feel of, hey, this is something that we want it to have the look and feel of what you would see on television. And so I think just making sure that they know how valuable they are, finding where they are, where they're best suited, and then letting them grow and thrive in that role during the spring with baseball. And so it's really been fun to watch through the years. And I feel like, where we are now is as close to for us for a small Division I program, as close to an ESPN type product as we could possibly be. And it's definitely grown through the years, but it's been a work in progress year to year.
That's great. Thank you, Reagan. Adam, Alex, what do you guys think about this? Because I know that sometimes, we only have one camera and there's one camera shoots, but our coaches and our athletic directors are looking for us to do more, yet we only have that option of one camera. How do we go about maybe getting more resources on our limited budget? How do we get them to say, yes, you can buy that, or, get that equipment?
I can help a little bit with that. Just starting out, when I came here to ETV, we didn't have, but web cameras is what they used. And I shot that down real quick and then went to coaches, and we partnered to put our finances together to buy a camera to do some live streaming with. And this is, 10 years ago when live streaming wasn't real big yet, but we needed something better than just a web stream camera. And so I would suggest, if you're at a place where you don't have many resources, talk to a coach, talk to AD, partner up with your budgets. And even, I've worked with donors in the past. I've been blessed to meet some in the past, and they're like, hey, what do you need? And I said, well, this is what I really need. I need something like this to up our broadcasting, or to up our streaming aspect of it, or to help our creative end. And they're like, okay, well, let me see what I can do. And then, maybe a few weeks or later or next year, there's some finances that show up that you can use to upgrade some of that. So I think if you show what you want to do, have a vision, and take it forward with your coaches and your athletic director, and show where you want to go with it, there'll be people that'll jump on board. And that's what I've been blessed with here. And, you know, like what Reagan said, now we do 2 and 3 cameras on special events where we have enough workers and events when we don't have 2 and 3 events going on at the same time. But it's worked up through that over the years from the vision that we've had here and the people that have seen what we've done. So just continue to push forward, show what you can do, and then you never know what can happen from that.
No, that's a great idea, partnering with the teams. We've also here up in Windsor, I've gotten a sponsor for some of our broadcasts. And, you know, they've donate some money towards the webcast. I've been able to use it for certain equipment or different features and functions. And then, you know, our broadcast is brought to you by John Smith or this company or something like that. So I've also found that very helpful. Alex or Whitney, did you have anything? Oh, Alex.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of what Adam said is, you know, leveraging the stakeholders that want to see it get better. One thing I realized, I don't think we talked about yesterday, I use our mandate to use DV Sport and instant replay as a reason to get things for the broadcast. We have to have, you know, right now it's a minimum of like 2 angles at baseball, softball, but obviously that's going to go to 4. That's, you know, we have to have every angle for football, every camera that we can give them, they want. And obviously the coaches and the ADs in the conference wants to get every call right. So we need a camera for that. Well, the camera needs to match the other cameras, which are broadcast standard. So there we go. We've bought some on our secondary level because the Sun Belt was nice enough to outfit us on the primary level of our broadcast. But yeah, we were able to purchase really a whole new setup last year. And I leveraged a lot of the fact that we needed to do better with DV Sport, and we needed to upgrade our cameras or get more of them to get more angles. And then, like you said about the 1 camera shoots, is, you know, we have a couple sports where we have to do that. And you know, I've had discussions with parent groups, with coaches, and you know, it's not outwardly asking for money or anything from a parent. They're already paying, you know, for their kid to come here in all likelihood. But telling them what our limitations are, and you know, we feel bad that we can't do a full-on show for every sport. And you know, maybe they go to the foundation here at Coastal and help out a little bit. And we even, for football, we kind of had a groundswell of fans wanting to, you know, have some more video board stuff, some more replays, all that. And our foundation was nice enough to make our area part of their Giving Teal Tuesday, like that big Tuesday, you know, 24-hour give-a-thon type of thing. And, you know, we got an influx of money for football needs, but there's only 6 or 7 football games a year, and I'm in charge of that equipment. So it's probably going to get over to some lacrosse games and some soccer next year. And, you know, so leveraging like the DV Sport, we have to do that stuff, or official replay, whatever version you have, or whatever your big sport is. If it's hockey, if it's basketball, you know, we need something to improve our hockey broadcast. Well, it might go do field hockey now, or volleyball. So, you know, there's ways for it to work.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. We do have a few questions. One here is from Josh Newart, and this is kind of along the lines of what Alex and Adam were just talking about, but he's wondering that when we get these funds, what areas of the broadcast do you put those resources towards? Example, cameras, communications, graphics. Like, how do you strategically scale up your productions with the long-term view? How do you make those decisions?
What we've done is just seen what's the oldest piece of equipment that we have to replace first. We go from there. Is it a camera? Is it a laptop? And then we say, all right, what's the cost of that? And now we're trying to get it into a rotation where we know, okay, 3 years from now, we have to put into the budget a new camera, or we have to put in the budget a new computer. So I would just assess what is the piece of equipment that you need the most right now. If it's both, then see which one is needier. Is it the camera or the computer? Can you get a computer to work for a year and then get a new one from there? So it's just addressing what's the oldest piece and going forward from there. That's my advice.
No, that's great.
I think, especially with like the way cameras are now, especially if you're trying to go like high end, that gets almost, you know, impossible to replace more than one, and maybe even one. Like our trailer cameras, we're not getting a new one for a minute because it's not going to happen. But I think what could really enhance and bring things up is audio and graphics, and that's going to be a little bit more affordable. You start getting the pings and pops at baseball and start hearing the hits at football and things like that. I think people notice that a lot more. And then if you can get anything, and even if it's not Ross or VizRT or anything like that on the graphics end, nice clean graphics, even if you're not on ESPN Plus and it looks a little bit like it. I think that's huge. Add some bios where you can tell some stories about kids. That's going to enhance it a lot more than, you have 3 kind of prosumer cameras and then 1 amazing camera. You almost notice the differences more than you notice how good the good camera is. So I think audio and graphics are a more economical way to kind of make your improvements.
Great, thanks. Okay, so our next question, I think was directed towards me because I mentioned about sponsorships on the webcast. It's from Martin. He says, what is your involvement in selling advertisements for your broadcast, and how can I accurately price commercials based on my viewership levels? Well, Martin, what I've done is I've engaged my sponsorship coordinator here in our department to help get those sponsorships for me, because as you know, we all have so much stuff on our plate that going out and maybe soliciting advertisements or sponsorship for the webcast isn't top of mind or top priority based on what we have to do on a daily basis, but it is for my sponsorship coordinator. So I go to them and I say, listen, I'm looking for some money to help enhance my broadcast and bring all of new equipment and that kind of stuff in. So if you can maybe find me a sponsor or, take one of our current sponsors who's up for renewal and, add that into their new sponsorship package. That way you can up the sponsorship dollars that, they're giving to the department. As for your question of how you can accurately price commercials or even a title sponsorship to the webcast, I think you have to look at how many sports that their sponsorship is going to cover. Is it just going to be basketball and volleyball, or are they going to do all of your sports? And, and if it is just one sport that they're going to do, how many games do they play throughout the season, right? Like our football games, we only play 4 home games. So that, to me, even though it has a higher viewership, it is still, a smaller audience compared to our basketball games where we play 10 to 12 basketball games at home with the same amount of viewership. So I think you have to take those kinds of things into consideration. I hope that helps.
I can address that real quick too. I've had to do that here the last 10 years at ETBU and help with that. And I base it on, the cost of living in an area too. We're in a smaller town, about 25,000. So to ask a company to give us $10,000 for a video package or something like that wouldn't happen in this town. So I base it off that. And then, we sell a football package and then an overall package. And we see, I put in their social things and video board things for football, and then also the live streaming aspect of it. So we do it in 3 or 4 different tiers that we offer them, anywhere from $500 up to $3,000 for the area that we live in. And then that money generated then used to go back into my budget, but with our new administration, goes into a overall athletic fund that everybody can use now and helps with everybody and all that we do. So that's what I've done to help with that aspect of it. I do my fundraising from June till about the 1st of August. And then once football and all the sports coming in the fall, I kind of put that on hold. And then if somebody wants something in season, then I'll mention it to them. So that's what we do here at our level at Division III with sponsorships and generating that aspect of it.
Great, thank you. Reagan?
Yeah, another thing that we've started to do here in the last probably 4 or 5 years, we've had several just former players that have done well in business, whatever it is that, whether they own their own business, that want to be involved in the broadcast. And so we have several that have advertisements on our games for the companies that they own now. So that might be something too, just to talk with your coaching staff to find out, what former players or people that are connected with the program that might want to be involved. That's turned out to be an excellent stream of revenue for us as well on the sponsorship side.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, so our third question that we have here, this one comes from Hope Hardwick. She's the Director of Athletics, Video and Multimedia, UNCW, and she is also a former SNer and says hi to Alex in her question. Her question is, in this no live cut age, what are you doing to cut plays for in-game updates on social media? Exporting from replay, or is there a different service you're using? Third-party programs can really break the bank. Whitney, you had talked about live cutting. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so I am interested and hope if you want to email me and we can catch up on the side, I would love to learn more too. Over the last few weeks, supposedly Twitter live cut was supposed to go away, and knock on wood, it hasn't for us. And what I was learning, maybe it's potentially a way that you are logging into Twitter. So there's a couple different ways that I think people can pull up that live cut Twitter producer page. So for us, we log in to our whatever sport is going on, and then we go to studio.twitter.com. And as of right now, there is still a tab for us that shows producer. So the way that we are getting live cut into Twitter is via our control room, I believe through Wirecast. That's the easiest way that we found that it works. That's what we've done all season. And like I said, knock on wood, it's still working. But I did learn that it seemed like it just may depend on how you're going into Twitter to do that. A couple other ways that we've done it for sports that may not be through our control room. For example, golf the other week at their conference championship, just screen recording the ESPN Plus broadcast. Mainly off of a PC. I don't know. Macs are really funky in that capability. So those with other kinds of computers may know a little bit more about that. And sometimes that's a little jumpy as well. It's definitely not the best of quality, but it got the job done. But yeah, so right now, like I said, knock on wood, Twitter live cut, I think is still working for some people. So like I said, I'd be happy to connect with you on the side and maybe we can walk through and try and figure that out. Because I have looked into the third party ways like you have, and they are not cheap. So I totally understand it.
I think it's funny that you said you record the computer screen, because I've done that on multiple occasions to get a replay or a video clip. That's hilarious.
Whatever works.
Exactly. Oh, that is so funny. Hope said she'll connect with you, Whitney. So keep an eye out for her email. I think that was all of our topics that we had for today. Any last words of wisdom from our panel? Reagan, why don't you go first?
I think we're all kind of in the same boat. A lot of us with leaning on students to be involved in our production. I think a lot of great points were brought up. Obviously, there's a ton of hours that we all put in, and I go back to just some comments that were made just in terms of making sure that students get, obviously they're working a ton of hours, but that they get the appropriate rest that they need, that we were scheduling appropriately. But I think too, for us, it comes back to setting expectations as well. A lot of times we may not do that as well as we should, and we all know it, working in college athletics, the hours are crazy. I mean, we're typically the first ones here when the last ones to leave. And so just setting proper expectations to let them know the long hours, but what it comes down to is how valuable they are, and really trying to pour into students, recognizing their worth and giving them constant feedback. Let them know the things that they're doing really well, encourage them in those areas, and then also give them constructive criticism, being able to give them feedback and tell them areas where they can grow. And that's typically where we've seen, students flourish the most.
Great. Adam, your words of wisdom?
I would say continue to build those relationships within the school, with the communications, with even the coaches, the donors, and different things, and show them what you were doing. And then be patient. It doesn't happen overnight. What a lot of us have has been built up over the years, and Rome wasn't built in one day. So it takes time, it takes patience, and don't get negative with it. There's a tendency in our industry where a lot of us become that negative Nancy, and we get down on ourselves and we get burnt out. Try and take a deep breath and know that you're doing a good job. You're doing a great job with what you have and your resources. And you got to be reminded of that, because not a lot of people tell you you're doing a good job, and you are. So just continue moving forward and keep pushing forward for the things you want, and stay positive and have fun with it.
Thanks, Adam. Alex, I see you nodding your head in agreement.
Yeah, I think that the having fun with it is key because it can wear you down. I think the thing, and I can't believe I'm going to say this and it's going to date me, but don't go chasing waterfalls. They just like, what I mean by that is, a lot of things are getting shared about how cool this broadcast is, or, the extra, the awesome graphic they did or anything like that. And when really all your fans want to do is see the game and see a clean show. Does it sound good? Does it look good? Do they see every play? You get caught with your special angle and all of a sudden you don't see the pitch and someone hits a home run, then cool, that special angle did you no good. So I think especially when we're talking about resources, using students is don't overstretch yourself and, put on a good show. Then once you feel good, you've done a couple of weeks where it's like, man, that was clean. Then add your bells and whistles. And I think, where possible and when resources allow, but I think definitely, go for your, go back to your base when you need to and put on that show. Cause really they just want to watch, whether they're a parent, a fan, they just want to watch their kids in their school. And if you can add stuff, that's great, but really they're there for the game. And I think we have to remember that sometimes.
No, you're right. Whitney, your thoughts?
Well, I think everybody took my great thoughts, but, to reiterate what everyone has said, is one, be patient in this industry. One piece of advice that I received one time from Maria Taylor was to be poised in the pocket. So to throw out the sports reference, be poised in everything that you do. You all said, some of you said, have fun. If you're not having fun in this industry, then it may not be for you, because athletics obviously is a lifestyle. So find the positives of it. And then obviously, just like we're doing right now, use who network. We're all here to help each other out. And I know I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for everyone that helped me in the sports industry along the way. I'm lucky enough to be in a spot now that I can give back to students and those even coming into college already. Whereas when I think about where I was 10 years ago, basically in their shoes, reaching out and always asking questions and wanting to learn new things. It's crazy to think about how far you can get in this industry if you use your resources the right way.
Yes, that is so true. Thank you guys all for that. And I just want to say too, just to add my 2 cents, make sure, when you're working with your students, you're thinking of your students, make sure you're thanking your students, make sure your students are having fun. Because if they're having fun and they feel appreciated and that what they're doing is actually making a difference, they will work hard for you and they will learn for you and they will do more things for you. But also keep in mind too, that they may try and burn themselves out, and we don't want that to happen. And, I'm thinking about Nathaniel in this conversation too. So just make sure you're thanking your staff and your students, and they will, they'll give back what you give them. So I just want to give a big thanks to all of our presenters today for the discussions and all of the wonderful insights. Again, the webinar will be on demand later today, so share that information with your colleagues. We encourage you to check out the website, collegesportscommunicators.com, for updated information on what's on tap for CSC's upcoming Unite 23 convention. And then a reminder to all of you to make sure your graduate and undergraduate students and interns are aware of our CSC U Camp, which is a virtual 2-day event for aspiring and young professionals, which is taking place June 1st and 2nd. The virtual event is free, but it requires advanced registration at the website. So thank you all again for being with us today, and we hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday.